Oh, I almost didn't see you there. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, but mostly you ladies out there? Welcome to another episode of Break the Silence with Cyborg. I'm your host, Cyborg. We just got done watching Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors, a game in which the Boston Celtics won 116-100 to take a 2-1 series lead going into Game 4 on Friday back in Boston. A way different game tonight in a lot of ways than Game 2. And this series has been really interesting to watch the roller coaster ride that we've been on for both teams. The only theme that stayed consistent is that in the third quarters, the Warriors have dominated every game. But tonight, it wasn't enough as the Celtics played better in the other three quarters. Let's start with the Celtics side of the basketball because we had a big night from the guys that we needed a big night from. Jaylen Brown gave you 27. Tatum gave you 26 points and 9 assists. Tatum has been passing the ball unbelievable. He had 13 assists in Game 1, 9 assists tonight. That was the difference we saw in Game 2. He only had 2 assists that night. Wasn't able to get his teammates involved in as much, and I think that really cost the Celtics in that game. Has a lot to do with his teammates knocking down shots, though. You know, in Game 1, they hit a lot of shots. In Game 2, they just couldn't. And then the big difference was Marcus Smart gave you 24 tonight. So he got going. So he's played good in Games 1 and 3. Struggled in Game 2. The big difference for the Celtics tonight was they only had 12 turnovers. As I've talked about a lot on this show, the Celtics turnovers are truly the difference between them winning games and losing games. And I'm going to say it, and I've said it a million times, the Celtics have the worst fast break defense in the NBA, but they have the best half-court defense in the NBA. So taking care of the basketball is what separates them from winning and losing. Here's the stat on it. When the Celtics turn it over 16 or more times in the playoffs, they're 1-5. When they turn it over less than 16 times, they were 12-2. That's what it comes down to. That's the difference in the basketball game. You know, there are nights that your shots are falling. There are nights when another team gets hot. But if the Celtics don't turn the ball over, they're good enough to be the NBA champions this year. And if they do, then they'll lose this series. Let's flip over to the other side and talk about the Golden State Warriors, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the things I noticed in this game. Steph Curry gave you 31. He did what he's done this entire series. Now, something to watch going into next game. Steph rolled his ankle at the end of tonight's game. Or not even, I guess, not rolled his ankle. Al Horford fell on his ankle when they were both diving for the basketball. And Steph, his whole career, has had ankle injuries. It's why the Warriors were originally trying to trade Steph Curry instead of Monte Ellis. If you remember, both of those guys were on the Golden State Warriors, and they decided they were going to trade Steph Curry, but with his ankle issues, they ended up trading Monte Ellis. So something to keep an eye on is, will that affect Steph going forward? I hope not, because I hope we get to watch Steph Curry because he's just unbelievable. Klay Thompson had his first truly good game of this series. He gave you 25 points. And really caught fire in the second and third quarter there and provided a huge spark to kind of bring them back in that game when the rest of the offense was struggling other than Steph. And then Andrew Wiggins gave you 18. He kind of is someone who gives you what he gives you. Hasn't really had any explosion-type games. But a little more to the strategy side. And then one guy I specifically want to shout out. My guy, Draymond Green, had 2 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists tonight. Also fouled out. Also had multiple turnovers. They said he has as many turnovers as made baskets in this series. So I'm sure Draymond will hop on the podcast tonight and talk about his rings and talk about all those things that other guys have carried him to. But that's who Draymond is. He gave you 2, 4, and 3 tonight and has been wildly underwhelming this series. They said he has as many fouls as he does points. So he's got 15 fouls through 3 games, and he's got 15 points through 3 games, which comes, for all you mathematicians out there, to a whopping average of 5 points a game. Now let's get to the strategy a little bit here and something that we saw tonight. The Celtics started the game by putting Jayson Tatum on Draymond Green, which was something that they switched up from the previous games. The reason that they did this is not because you had to worry about Draymond Green's offense, because you don't. And yes, I'm here taking a lot of shots at Draymond Green. I'm kind of sick of hearing his antics and him chirping to the refs so much. I have a lot of respect for Steph. I love Klay Thompson. But Draymond Green has ridden their coattails to the finals. Jayson Tatum guarded Draymond Green to start the game. And the reason is that Draymond is the primary screener for Steph Curry. And instead of Al Horford guarding Draymond, Jayson Tatum guarding him allows Tatum to switch onto Steph whenever Draymond sets those screens rather than Al Horford, which really provides a better matchup for the Celtics, as Tatum's just a better perimeter defender than Al Horford at this point in Al's career. So that you saw that kind of have an impact in tonight's game, as we didn't see as many open shots for Steph Curry. Now, he's going to hit unbelievable shots, and it's what he does. And if he does get any space, he's going to hit those too. He had a couple shots in the third quarter that was driving me nuts. The Celtics continue to try to play drop coverage. And I've went over drop coverage on this channel a couple times, but if you're not familiar with the term, it's when and we'll talk it from the player's perspective. If Steph has the ball, Draymond sets the screen. If Rob Williams is the one guarding Draymond, he decides to drop to stay even with Draymond, to not allow the roller there on the pick and roll, meaning to where if Smart doesn't fight around the screen and get a good contest on Steph Curry, which oftentimes doesn't because Draymond's screens are moving so often, that Steph ends up with a wide open 3. The counter for that is that instead of Rob Williams dropping so much, he attacks Steph to crowd him, to where Steph then has to drop it off to Draymond, and then the ball is in Draymond's hand to make a play, rather than Steph Curry, which every Celtics fan will take every time. Rob Williams tonight, something I talked about from the previous game, is that I wasn't sure that Rob Williams was playable in the minutes that Steph Curry was on the court. And I think Ime Udoka has been watching my podcast. It's the only possible solution, because Ime Udoka listened to me. He started Rob Williams to start the game and pulled him really early in favor of Derek White, and then played Rob Williams a little later. And Rob had an unbelievable game. He had 4 blocks tonight. So they decided to kind of switch up those minutes to not play Al Horford and Rob as much together, and allow Rob to kind of, play those minutes maybe when Steph is not on the court as much. So great adjustment by Ime Udoka. The only thing I'd like to see us do is step up a little more on those 3-point shots from Steph. Let's crowd him. Let's not give him any open looks. Now, going forward, Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole are the interesting pieces in this series, because the Warriors have not been scoring a lot of points. They had 100 tonight. I think in their win last game they had 102. So it's not like they're lighting up the scoreboard. So Steph every night has been consistently giving you what he's giving you. Klay and Poole, I think, are the X factors for the Warriors in this series. If Klay can play like tonight and Jordan Poole can give you a little something, then you kind of get that scoring from more spots, because Wiggins is going to give you his 15 to 20 every night. And then, Looney will give you his 5 to 10. And then you hope that Peyton, Draymond, and if you play Iguodala, Bielitsa, they can give you, another couple points there. But it'll be interesting to see. The thing that's so fascinating about this series is the third quarter, the Warriors are just dominating, and it's truly unbelievable because the Celtics have kind of looked like the better team for a lot of the other quarters, but the Warriors have been so overwhelmingly better for that one quarter that it swung game 2. Going into game 4, my original prediction for this series was that Boston would win game 3, the Warriors would win games 4, 5, Celtics 6, Warriors 7 to get the Warriors the win in 7. Now we'll see what happens next game. I saw tonight as a must-win for the Boston Celtics. I didn't see it as a must-win for the Warriors. If the Celtics would have went down 2-1, I think you would have felt really bad as the Celtics. But the Warriors, you got an opportunity to bounce back in Boston next game. And if you tie this series, you got home court again, where the Warriors are really good at home. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Tonight's game was a lot more pleasing for me to watch than last game. Jaylen Brown really balled out in the first quarter, got us off to a hot start. Tatum got rolling there kind of in the second and third quarter to play well, and the Celtics put together a much better showing. Now, I know we have a lot of new viewers out there. If you wouldn't mind taking a second, liking, subscribing. We've been reacting to every game of these finals, every game of the playoffs here. We're going to continue to drop different topics even once the season ends. So like and subscribe to the video. I appreciate all your support. Thanks for watching. Cyborg out.